To create a free-form international US dollar wire, select Initiate Single Wire from the SVB Online Banking Payments and Transfers menu. The Initiate a Single Outgoing Wire screen will appear. Select the freeform format and select the wire type freeform wire from a US dollar USD account. Select the international location of your beneficiary's bank from the drop-down list. The data entry guidelines will appear on the Wire Instructions entry screen and will be based upon your country selection. Click Continue and the Wire Instructions entry screen will appear. Here you'll enter your wire payment instructions. Please note all fields with an asterisk are required. From the drop-down menu, select the SVB USD debit account you wish to use to fund the wire. Then enter the processing date, which is the date that SVB will process the wire. The processing date defaults to the current day, or if it's after the cutoff time, the next bank business day. You can click the calendar icon to select a specific date up to 60 calendar days in the future. Next, enter the transaction amount. It can be entered with or without a decimal and/or commas. However, wires including cents must include the decimal point. Next, you'll need to enter the beneficiary details. Enter the beneficiary account. Please refer to foreign country rules for additional required information. Be sure to omit spaces and symbols when entering. The account label and guidelines displayed for this field will be based upon the location you've selected. For additional information, please refer to foreign country rules. Next, enter the complete beneficiary name. It must be entered in its entirety. If it's longer than 35 characters, enter the remaining characters in the first address line. Then enter the actual address in address lines 2 and 3. Enter beneficiary address on the 2 required address lines. Next, enter the beneficiary bank information using one of 2 methods. Click the Search for your beneficiary's bank link. Enter a bank name or enter the bank BIC SWIFT code, and your selection from the bank search results will automatically appear. Click on the bank name and it will automatically load the beneficiary bank instructions to your wire. It's important that the correct SWIFT BIC is selected. Please note that this database is updated quarterly and may not have the beneficiary bank listed. To enter bank information manually, click the button to activate the entry fields and manually enter your information. When entering information, you must provide the correct bank name, city, state, country, and ABA SWIFT BIC code. To initiate an international USD freeform wire to banks domiciled outside of the U.S., you'll need to use an 8 or 11-character bank identifier code, also called a SWIFT BIC for routing purposes. The remaining fields are now optional. Originator to beneficiary instructions are optional instructions you may wish to provide your beneficiary. This section is typically used to enter payment details such as an invoice number or other information, which may change with each wire. Do not use any special characters in these fields. Enter any bank-to-bank instructions as required by the receiving country. For example, some countries require an international routing code or additional beneficiary information like a taxpayer ID for routing purposes. Please refer to foreign country rules for specific required information. Bank-to-bank instructions can be changed at the time of the wire initiation. You'll typically not use the intermediary bank instructions section since Silicon Valley Bank maintains a database of intermediary bank relationships and the information entered here is not required to process your wire. Specific entry guidelines may be displayed based upon your bank location selection. Click Continue when you're finished entering your instructions and you'll be advised of any invalid entries. After your wire instructions are entered, the verification screen will appear. Review your instructions for accuracy, and if changes are needed, click Change to return to the wire entry screen. It's important that you don't use your browser back button or your session may time out. When you're ready to submit the wire, click Send to Approver, which will appear if this wire requires approval before being sent to SVB for processing. Or click Submit, which will appear if this wire can be submitted to SVB for processing without further approval. The confirmation screen will appear. To obtain a printed confirmation and status of your submitted instructions, including the number of approvals required and the SVB online banking generated transaction ID, click the printer icon at either top or bottom right corner of the screen. Users authorized to approve wires will be notified of wires pending their approval through an SVB online banking bulletin displayed upon login and/or an optional email notification. They must log into SVB online banking to approve wires. Wires must be approved by the appropriate cutoff time to be processed by SVB. If you have template creation entitlements for the debit account used for this wire, you'll have the option to save these instructions for future use. To save these instructions as a template, enter a unique template code in the field provided at the bottom of the screen and then click Save as Template. You'll receive confirmation of your saved template, including the number of approvals required before it can be initiated. Click New Wire to enter instructions for an additional wire payment. Otherwise, select your next service or function from the SVB online banking menu. If your wire is pending approval, you can track its status by selecting Outgoing Wire Inquiry from the Payment and Transfers menu. Enter search criteria for the wire, either transaction ID or other criteria such as processing date, debit account, and/or amount. Select Transaction Details from the Accounts tab. Enter your specific search criteria, including the date range of this transaction and the specific funding account. Then choose Outgoing Wires as the transaction group for your search. Your results will include any executed wires matching the requested search criteria. You must have Account Reporting Entitlement for the debit account in order to view the wire.